The Star Sports commentators questioned only when the strike rate was 118. All these guys talk about, oh, we don't care about outside noise. Acha, then why are you replying to any outside noise or whatever it is? Then we've all played a bit of cricket, not a lot of cricket. We don't have agendas. We speak about what we see.
TV umpire to director, we have a player review. Can we rock and roll, please?
Hello again and welcome back to Bits and Pieces, your friendliest cricket podcast. I am Srinath Shripath, your host for episode 123. And joining us for the third time on the pod, I think that's right, is one of sports journalism's most respected names. And in a random reversal of what happens usually, Sharda Ugra has been quoting to us iconic moments and lines from Bits and Pieces. So she's actually one of our most avid listeners who has somehow stuck with us. God knows why, despite some of our fellow friends and panelists actively dissuading her from doing so. Pleasure to have you back, Sharda.
Hi, thanks so much. I'll take quotes and all that now. Soon I'll send you little pieces. I'll soon get onto social media and start sending it from the Bits and Pieces podcast today. You never know. Anything's possible. But Maja, fun to be back.
Great to have you again. It's a wonderful time of the year with the IPL, and we'll talk about it at length.
I, by the way, think it's only the second time Sharda has been on the pod. But it was so good it felt like two episodes packed into one. That's true.
All three of our panelists have introduced themselves already. All Bits and Pieces regulars who will bring their best fanboy selves to the pod today. Prashant DP is the first one, also known to the world these days as Richie Beno, Ian Chappell, David Attenborough, depending on his mood. Hey again, PDP.
Hi there. Great to be here. Pleasure to be here again with Sharda.
Indeed. Abhishek Chopernos Chopra is back too. Hello, Chops.
Hey, everyone.
Never went away. And so is Nitin Sundar, who's the other half of this. He's an Attenborough documentary filmmaker these days in his own right. Most recently directed Mumbai Simians, which is now out on YouTube.
Yes.
Oscar nomination for short film. Immediately Oscar nomination for short film.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, thanks for the welcome, Srinath. As always, great fun to be on any forum with Sharda. But I'm going to quickly throw a googly at Sharda and start off by asking her, can you tell me within 5 seconds who played yesterday?
Gujarat and Chennai.
Okay, so now you unlock the bonus. Now you have 7 seconds to tell us who played day before yesterday.
Oh no, forgot. Because I came home late and I just switched on. So this is how the IPL has to be watched. First power play and then last 6 overs or whatever. So I came home late and I said, Ali, let's see what's happening. And then I watched the Dhoni innings, the legendary Dhoni innings.
That's all matters anyway. Yeah.
I think we'll switch from Nitin's Reels questions to more familiar territory for you, Sharda. Get into long form straight in. There's been enough gripping off-field action as there's been on the field, right? And we'll dive in and talk about your latest writing, and Prashant's come up with a lot of deep thoughts and questions for that. So I'll just get us started and throw to you, Sharda. So one question that I've had, right? I just wanted to start off with that is, ever since in the last few weeks, ever since all the captaincy switcheroo with Hardik Pandya, there was that Mark Boucher press conference where he awkwardly flat bats questions about whether there was a captaincy clause and whatnot. All the needles from fans and media. Now Shubman Gill swearing after getting to 100, which did not expect that side of his personality. And obviously, as Nitin referred to, fans going crazy about Dhoni's sixes, even though they're meaningless in the context of the game itself. Question to you. Are our individual superstars somehow bigger than they've ever been now? And it's just been really easy to forget the team sport aspect of this. Or is it just franchise and team loyalty that's the foundation behind all this? What have you made out of it?
It's what you're saying is interesting because someone said, "Oh, this is the footballification of cricket." When that whole thing about Pandya's the booing of Pandya happened. Cricket has always been sort of a superstar kind of a superstar driven game in that sense. If you're not talking, in this format, particularly 2020, what else do you have time to watch? You know, so what else, it's just going by. And the IPL is like one match after another match after another, and it's done. And you just remember these things in sort of in highlights and bits and pieces. And you're trying your best to kind of graph storylines, right? Journalists always looking for storylines, but these are not storylines. This is like stuff that's just coming out of everywhere of people doing things. You remember, I mean, not so long ago, Dhoni had marched out and shouted at the umpire and whatever. So it doesn't seem to mean anything. It's like literally some Shakespearean, if I'm calling IPL Shakespearean, I'd get killed by somebody. But it's like this drama playing out, and these characters are coming and going and doing all these dramatic things that are there. But as Lalit Modi will say, this makes for great, this is what it is. Good news, bad news. As long as you're in the news is what people want the IPL to be. And it's quite, I think it's driven a lot by social media. What would the IPL be without social media? And you think about it and you say, it'll just be matches that are there, and then you have next day report, and then you have TV and you have discussions. But it's this social media constant churn of posts and memes and everything that goes. And I don't think at any point there will be people having very deep discussions about the cricket and the tactics. And I have to write something hopefully in the next few days about this whole data stuff and whatever. At which point Nitin will laugh because he knows my absolute zero pana about the data and understanding of these things. But but mostly people are just looking for this personality story as to where it's going. And even though like Mumbai Indians have had a bad IPL, RCB are living up to potential and having the IPL that they've had. And but so everyone's looking for those kinds of stories only. It's just like social media plus everyday masti plus whatever, soap opera.
Yeah, I think this is perfect timing to dive into your recent piece for the Hindustan Times, which Nitin has helpfully shared with all of us ahead of the episode. It's about the Virat Kohli, Sunil Gavaskar exchange about Kohli's strike rate, which has been dissected endlessly, right? Because my immediate parallel was, this is World T20 season, there's a World Cup and everything. Just throwing back all the way to 2007, right? There was this whole conversation or lack of conversation, even like a decision made by selectors to bench all the, the big cheese and all the big dogs at that time, Sachin and Ganguly and all of that. Would that even be a conversation today, or would it have even been a conversation within the selectorial discussions today? I don't know.
Oh, no chance. So the stories I've heard about this selection that's happened, and since I can only reveal this proudly on this podcast because you'll accept it without censoring, is that everyone is so scared of touching the big guys because they think there will be pandemonium and chaos on social media between now and until suppose, say for example, either Kohli or Rohit had not been picked, okay? People would be on it non-stop 24/7 until the time that World T20 got over and India had crashed out at some stage. This will not stop. So because people don't want that tension, they say, listen, just pick them and go. And the 2007 decision that was taken, it apparently was taken because Dravid called up these guys and said, look, boss, this is like that format we don't know. Let the young guys go. And everyone said, okay, fine. And then we won. And you've heard stories about them saying, oh, we'd love to have, it would have been great to have been part of that whole adventure. And we all watched it. And Tendulkar watched it on TV, the parade and the matches and everything. And obviously they would have wanted to be there. But would the result have been the same? We don't know. It's sliding door. So because of this it's almost like what you're saying is right, that superstardom has been magnified and amplified into something that is so gigantic now and means so many things to so many people in so many media, that to even try and chip away at one thing is like people don't want to take the risk. I feel it's like they say we're not going to do it. So these brave selectorial decisions are all not happening.
So Sharda, let me ask you a hypothetical question. Given what has become of T20, and given that these three guys and how their careers panned out after that, their careers not just in playing cricket but also post cricket, do you think they would have let go if they had known T20 will become what it would become?
So you're asking me to mind read?
Kind of, yeah.
enough. See, I don't know whether, in their minds, they would probably have thought that this. So 2007, they're not too far off their top game. Not Ganguly, maybe. Ganguly quit in about a year's time, if you're taking it. Don't laugh, Nitin. We mean about Ganguly. Disrespectful to Ganguly. Yeah. But they played for almost 4-5 years after that. And had they been, say, 5 years younger, or even if they were had crossed their 30s, had they crossed their 30s, if they were just turning 30 at that time, I think they would have wanted to stay because of just this whole thing that it was, just not the fact that it's not only the fact that it's just a different kind of money, but just the fact that it's a different kind of game that could be played, that could be seen. It's another format. Let's see how we can work. So Tendulkar, remember, I interviewed him when, I think this was one of his birthdays or something in Cricinfo, when that whole thing happens that, okay, Tendulkar's giving interviews. So everyone said, acha, chalo, let's talk. So I asked him about the IPL thing, and he said, look, I don't think I would have needed to play different kind of shots. I thought the shots I had was, I said, would you have taken to playing the Ram shot or 360 or whatever? He said, I thought the shots I had were enough. And when this interview was done, now this would have been done like, say, maybe in 2017 or 18 or something like that. So at that time he was probably right, but now you're saying if you need 200 strike rate, you're going to need to do some of these things. You have to recalculate what kind of shots you would have needed in the game at the time. So that's what I think in that sense. Just the novelty of it would have. I think their bodies couldn't keep up at that time with what kind of they did play.
So Sharda, reading from your piece, right, there is this wonderful line that you have written. For us print text media underlings, this latest Kohli and SMG back and forth became a bit of a moment. You know how they first came for the text people, and obviously no one spoke for us. The inconsequential invisibles. Then they came for the combox, whose biggest names find themselves belittled, to use SMG's words, but social media for the most part showed no support. And Kohli's words, right, while Gavaskar chose to respond to them, actually didn't seem to be pointing fingers at someone like Gavaskar, and it's unclear who exactly they were directed at, because he actually said, people who have not actually been out there and played cannot really be commenting on this. And Gavaskar, of course, one thing that he has going for him is that he was out there for very long periods of time, scoring runs very slowly. So if those are the two constituents, right? So the first one is being print media, and now there is obviously commentary media. The selectors and umpires are sort of kind of the third level, right? They're much closer to the action than these levels are. And I would even include the coach there. And we also have an example of a coach getting burned, right? Like Anil Kumble. I'm not talking about Greg Chappell here, which was out of syllabus.
I think
Yeah.
one
Out of syllabus.
very short interruption to your point, Nitin. I think, Sharda, I disagree with the BCCI commentary panel being called media, right? I was saying that media is something that carries something from a source to the destination, right? The destination is the fans. So source is the BCCI. The commentary panel is the source, right?
Okay. Technically speaking.
But what we are really talking about, and I think commentators now for a while have been quite, neutered, let's put it that way. I think the first time a real ruction sort of came about was when Amitabh Bachchan came and tweeted something about Harsha Bhogle, and there was, and Manjrekar got kicked out of Star Sports. We've had these instances in the past. Yeah. But really what we are talking about now is how selectors and to an extent coaches and umpires also are getting impacted by this, right? Like Dhoni coming out or Rishabh Pant coming out and yelling at an umpire in the middle of a game. That was something that your biggest stars also never used to do, right? And you're coming from a time when someone like a Navjot Sidhu went and changed his entire game because he took something that, the media put out, Rajan Bala wrote about him so seriously. You now reached a stage where even the selectors are kind of on the back foot, unclear how to deal with your stars. And you've been there through this entire phase, right? So one question that I had was, see, we've always had big stars in Indian cricket, and stars typically have never retired of their own accord. They always need to be sort of managed out, and ultimately it's their own call when they choose to go, right? Very rarely have they been shown the door, the bigger stars. So this, in that sense, it's not really new to Indian cricket. But is it now reaching a completely different level, what you're seeing with multiple different players?
Yeah, you're right, because what you're saying is it's almost like they become untouchable in that sense. In the past, you did have all these conversations that were going on, and then it took a Saurav Ganguly to say, "Acha, you have kicked me out of the game, I will come back." and he actually did that. So he got thrown out and he came back in because he just went and did the logical thing, which was scoring runs. And he's batted. I mean, I've never seen him bat how he did in that last few years of his career. And he got to retire. And literally the most funny thing he said when he was told, he said, I retired because I can't remember where I heard this, whether he said this or it was said in passing or whatever. This is the problem. I don't remember. He said, if I would not have retired, Venkatram would have dropped me. So literally he said it like that. But then you had a strong chairman of selectors.
Yeah.
You had like Venkatram, a strong guy, a chairman of selectors. So I think the first sign of that also came about in the Dhoni case when Mohinder Amarnath said, look, 4-0, now let's change the captain. They changed Amarnath only. The board has taken that away from the selectors in the sense. And what started to happen also when selectors started getting paid money, it's almost like then that sense of sort of little bit of, power also they felt like had been taken away in that sense. That they are answerable in that sense in a way. It shouldn't have been. It should have given them more confidence. But because of the star mania and the whole fandom and the marketing and the management guys and all these other stuff, managers of these big players that are there. There's a story that one of the Indian players told me, whose name I cannot take at this point. Hopefully it will be revealed soon as in within some time. Who said that he was told. He went up to one of these manager guys, asked him and said, you have to sign up with me. And so he said, why? He said, because the captain is with me and the selectors are with me. So you have to be damn well signed. So, that's the kind of influence that these guys had in selection. And who knows what it's like now. Because I don't think our selection panel is completely independent in that sense as they should be. They are now tied down not by lack of money or resources or whatever, but by this whole star system kind of thing that's there, which then becomes sort of a national scandal. And now Twitter and Rohitians and Viratians and all that's just another level of operation, So it's almost like that it's got magnified to a point at which it will have to take a very, very strong selection committee to drop a big player in that sense, So of the player to be in that, what will happen is that the player will have to be in that stage that he has played 18 months without getting the kind of runs he's supposed to get. They say, bhai, now it's time to go. That kind of thing. As nicely as possible, like you said, managed. Their exits have to be managed. So this will be managed,
In a sense, it seemed like, at least in T20 cricket, that is what was getting done. Because after the previous T20 World Cup, right, your Kohli, Rohit and Rahul were not selected for any of the bilateral T20s. And Hardik became the captain. And then suddenly, you mentioned our selectors are on the back foot, right? But we have a new spokesperson for the selection committee, which is Mr. Jesha, who came and announced that Rohit Sharma will lead India to the title in Barbados, right? And after that, suddenly lift the trophy in Barbados. And after that, suddenly, we're like, hang on, where did that come from? Because Rohit had not played a T20 game for India in more than a year, I think, at that stage. And like you mentioned, it's a package deal. If you take Rohit, you better take Virat also. Because that is like the worst. How much did you blame the fans for this, right? And we're seeing, like Srinath mentioned, Dhoni hitting meaningless sixes, getting such huge applause, in CSK are losing by humongous margins. And fans just seem to care about their stars, right? And it also goes back to how the Indian public generally looks at heroes, right, in general. Our movie stars all are heroes all the way up to their 70s and 80s now. So
this is what I was saying, Sharda. Like this is not even the closest parallel to the whole Dhoni thing is Rajnikanth at 70. People going to watch first day, first show. The movie may be completely meaningless, but the intro and the theater experience is what they're watching CSK games like now.
So you're saying that how much are the fans to blame? Not really. Because fans don't make decisions. Fans just make noise. The decisions are made. Decision-making people are different. They have to be, and they don't have to be necessarily be a cricket board secretary at all. That cricket board secretary needs to hand out power to other people and say, okay, you decide and you let me know what's happening. And I'm not going to be involved. So that it's like one very old sort of refrain that you say, because you don't professionalize your management. You don't detach it from your policy people, like your board secretaries and presidents. That's why you cannot have an objective decision when it comes to things like this. So everyone understand, okay, you take one sort of slightly senior-ish player into this World Cup because you need that one anchor. You don't need three in the 2020 lineup. In 20 overs, it's over. Yeah, by the time the third anchor has come, the innings is finished. So those kind of things you just need to be able to have someone who just can bite the bullet. But because you've got so many other people breathing down their necks, who's going to do it? Who's going to bell the cat kind of a thing?
And it's a bit of a self-perpetuating cycle, right, Sharda? Because at the end of a tournament, Kohli can come out and say, I've got 700 runs at a strike rate of 130. And obviously, when you're not even respecting Sunil Gavaskar or whoever in the box, what luck do analysts and data guys have, right? When they say this is not a good strike rate or whatever. And India can bow out of the T20 World Cup, but 6 months later, we're back at an IPL, right? Like it just keeps happening.
It is a self-perpetuating cycle. And because I did that story, I had made a list now. Let me see of Kohli's strike rate. Of course, now I cannot find my notes. They're here somewhere. It's not been too bad this year, I have to say. No. It's like been 150, 160 plus. Yeah, so it's not, and then 118 or whatever that he was talking about, this is one match. And so therefore, but it is a self-perpetuating cycle. Every time you find someone it's almost like Indian cricket feels / the broadcasters / marketing / whoever else feel that they need one hero. The fact that you got some really interesting talent and people around and they need one mega star to run the team on, to do sorry to go off topic and change the discussion. That ad with Amitabh Bachchan is gross. It is terrible. Have you seen the Star TV ad? Some Mahayuddha something. It comes on Star TV. It is just horrible. Anyway, so I'm just saying, you're just producing this garbage kind of marketing strategy thing, and like I keep saying, all the marketing and all this other stuff, they never try and tell the audience how difficult it is what these guys do and how their skill is to be measured and appreciated and broken down into little bits and pieces and they just give you this garbage. Sorry, rant over for this podcast.
I had a question, Sharda. There are, at the heart of what Virat is saying is that if you've never done what I do, then you don't have the right to comment. Okay. Now that in itself is a very oppressive statement, meaning that you don't have the right to an opinion. You have to earn the right to an opinion, is what he's saying. Now, there are actually some professions where this idea holds good, right? So, for example, if you are commenting about a pilot flying a plane, you would be best suited to doing that if you were a pilot yourself, or if you're the guy who designed the plane, right? Or if you were to comment on, say, brain surgery or, rocket science, highly technical fields like that. You can't have a layperson's commenting on stuff like that.
Gavaskar can actually talk about brain surgery because that 32 in that World Cup, right, was like brain surgery only for people who are watching. Imagine.
No.
This is the point where you insert the clip where he says the bowlers conceded too many runs.
Yeah. My question is that there are certain professions where that statement may actually be valid.
Yes.
But then there are other professions where it is absolutely not. Your thoughts on this?
What you're saying about a pilot flying and only pilots or brain surgery or whatever. But as say journalists, media, commentators in that particular field, if the pilot has had 5 bad landings and the plane almost crashed and he was only saved by air traffic control, then as a journalist I have a right to find out what happened to the pilot,
Right.
So the brain surgery, if there's a doctor who's doing a dramatic new brain surgery, I have I can go and ask the doctor, explain and tell me what this is about, and fingers crossed you won't. If there's a hospital so it's the same thing. There are people who are not doctors allowed to write about hospitals, in that sense, if you look at it in that way. So because as you're a journalist, your job is to say, I come from an external source and this is why I want this information as to why you are, why this has happened. There's a great piece called The Devil at 30,000 Feet, which talks about an air crash that took place in the Amazon. Literally 2 planes virtually crashed into each other. One clipped the top, what's that structure at the back of the plane called, like the fin or the tail or something.
Tail wing.
He clipped the top of it, which they shouldn't have been flying that close. And the person who did the piece was an expert in aeronautics, and I think he flew a plane, and that's why he was able to explain it to us. I understand that. But at the same time, so only women should write about babies, because they're the only ones that deliver babies. They actually deliver personally. So correct. So that's what the argument is. That if you are able to make an argument that is, and in the case of Kohli saying this, that people who have not done this and all, it's, it is not rocket science. It is cricket. There are people sitting there that have played it, that have understood pressure, have understood whatever, and they're saying it. And even if you're not a cricketer who has played it, if you look at that strike rate, whatever it is, in that particular match, unfair because he's had a good tournament run so far, you say, this is not good. Look at the number is telling you it's not good. Numbers don't lie by and large. That's why I see this argument, and I say that, look, it is the job. Every time players grumble, or players that bother to talk to you grumble, I say, just look at it as your nuisance tax. No, it's a job. Just look at it as nuisance tax. You're getting being paid a lot of money, and this is the only tax that you have to pay, which is not massive. It's just you have to hear it. You don't even have to hear it, but you'll have chamchas come and tell them, right? A lot of the time, players don't even know what people are saying about it. They'll have some entu next to them who'll come and say, "Acha, this one wrote this about you. Acha, that one wrote this about you." This is famous. This is like a thing in cricket. You know people who go and tell. So when I did this story, I spoke to the people at the broadcasters and all, and they said, "Look, we did not repeat this 6 times. This number of 6 is wrong. And it's not more than 6. He said half a dozen. Said it's not more than 6 and it's not 6. So someone has gone and said this thing to him, or he's seen it, whatever, who knows. So it's this kind of thing that has come either and said this to Gavaskar and said this to Kohli. It's that kind of thing. Why would Kohli, if he's had some, if he's had an okayish kind of a game, he's had 5 good games, he's had 1 not so great game, and someone comes, what that person said? He said this, he's after your life, he's behind you. And it's a way of those people, those hangers on, that it's those guys' job to try and make themselves important and valuable to the superstar. That's why they're saying that it comes from a lot of, so many times it starts like that. And there are a lot of these people in the industry, lots.
Yeah. Well, the thing with Kohli is, in his last innings, he actually came out and played some shots which he has not been playing for a very long time. So whether he would like to admit it or not, he started slog sweeping and pretty well, right, against the spinners. So whether he likes it or not, whatever Gavaskar said seems to have lit the fire.
Fired him up.
Fired him up a bit. So.
One of the former test players also said a very interesting thing to me. He said the thing that in India is that all cricketing decisions are responded to with emotion. Whether it's, I'm not talking about commentators and all. So dropping, picking, whatever, it's just responded to in an emotional manner. Because no one will talk to you about it one-on-one and say, look, this is the reason why you're not going to play. So, I know this is not really the simple conversation, but there is so much emotion behind this that it's like, izzat ko tumne insult kiya by dropping me or by saying this, or, that uska strike rate, it's not this thing of your character, it's just a fact, it's life, it happens, you're a great player, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's the emotional quotient of it is also slightly amped up. And in IPL,
So I had one thought, like a follow-on thought to the point that you were raising, that you need, iron hand selector, someone like a Dilip Vengsarkar maybe. And just, I think Dilip probably would not be strong enough to do it in the current environment. So you need someone like 2x, 3x of his caliber to come in.
Please do not challenge Dilip Vengsarkar. Please do not challenge Dilip. Do not.
Bishan Bedi as chief selector.
Bishan Bedi.
He's no more that. Yeah. But so if you actually look back, at least in the last 10-15 years, right, whenever a hard decision has been made in cricket, it is not the selectors who have made it, right? It is typically, one instance I can think of is where, one is of course what we spoke about, the T20 World Cup, where Dravid went and said, hey, don't pick us because we don't want to play this format. And, the 3 seniors stood down. After that is when Dhoni was the captain and he said, I will not play Tendulkar, Sehwag and Gambhir together because, the fielding suffers if all of them play together, which is a big call, right? And Dhoni was at, the apex of his power at that time. He had just won 2 World Cups. He was, I think, 2-time winner with CSK, Srinivasan's team, and Srinivasan was running the board. You needed to have that kind of power to get away with, a call of that kind and to have the kind of body of work that Dhoni had as well. And
Yeah.
it's kind of sad that Dhoni himself became a caricature, or rather went the other way. By the time his career ended, like, he wasn't leaving and definitely overstayed his welcome, at least in one-day cricket. Like, I don't know if the selectors might be able to do something with this. It'll repeatedly have to be the players themselves who come and, just have that awareness, the strength to come and say, I don't want to do this, or I don't want XYZ in my team
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah.
The other one point, I think slightly related, right? It was hard enough to get Mithali Raj out of the T20 team. The fielding point reminded me because they used to
Yes.
hide her at 45 or somewhere the ball
Yeah.
didn't go and the ball would just keep following her at one point. It was hard
Yeah.
enough with her and Ramesh Pawar, right? Like it's much harder with any of these guys on the men's side. I
Yeah.
don't know how you
Yeah.
compare the two, but it came to mind.
That's a great point. Again, it was this sort of superstardom that had suddenly come in because of the 2017 World Cup final performance. Like, you can just see how everything switched. Had it happened in another age, it would not have been made a headline only. It would have made a headline, but not that kind of. It became like the whole campaign, and oh God, and this one leaked this and that one leaked that, and there's a letter and there's no letter. So it just became into this drama when it is actually a very simple and a logical thing that happens. And it's again because that the people that are in power don't have the confidence to exercise that power because there's always somebody else over them in that position, and they feel that they should be displeased by this decision. And the Dhoni thing was one of. So I was thinking, which other captain would have survived this 4-0-4-0? Nobody.
Yeah.
I mean, and the thing is, instead of post IPL where you have franchises that are quite cool about changing captains and successful captains at that, not even blinking. That there should have been a more sort of this kind of thing should have translated itself more easily into the India setup and become just more easy to handle. But it's become worse. It's actually become worse. It's literally like Dhoni and Kohli have become the two most powerful captains that India ever had. And people forget that Saurav Ganguly was literally captain either match by match or series by series was like the best you could give him. That, okay, you're captain for this series. Okay, you're then now captain for this series also.
Yeah.
Kohli and Dhoni are getting up till the World Cup, up till whatever, which is supposed to be a sign of progress and succession planning and all that. Yeah, we saw what happened to your progress and your succession planning. Now you're stuck. You don't know which way to go. You twisted yourself into this position. You're in a corner. You don't know what to do. It should have gotten better with the footballization of. If you're saying you are footballing your popularity and you're becoming a professional sport like football. Football throws out people all the time. It doesn't matter what reporters say. It doesn't matter what anybody says. They just get chucked out. It's like brutal. Football is scary. Yeah. Professional football.
Yeah.
Cricket is like mollycoddle and come on, please.
Sharda, do you think that is to do with the fact that the country that that is the biggest consumer of cricket is, to borrow from Nitin's point, more in love with the cricketer than with cricket itself?
No, but let me tell you this. Okay, now I'm pointing finger very angrily. So the thing is, everyone says this and in a way to sort of deride Indians, right? So I'll tell you one great, because I think Indians' love for cricket is, of course, we love superstars because we love films and we love Rajnikanth and Bachchan and whoever else and Salman and whatever. And Shah Rukh and Salman. So, but India's passion for cricket is genuine. So it's not that it's not there. So I went to I live in Bangalore and there is a chaat shop very close by to where we stay. You go and get chaat and mithai and all that. It's like a halwai there. I went and there's a man sitting. This is in the middle of the week, in the afternoon. He's sitting and watching on something on his TV, and I was shopping. And I looked and he's watching Australia versus Pakistan on his phone, test match. And I said, "Score kya hua?" I said, "Test match," and he just looked at me like, "Of course," like like that. So they're very wide clothes. I can see. I was so surprised. I said, "In no other country will you see this." All right, and then another story, which is my favorite story because a friend of mine has a son who's about 7 or 11, and he reads about cricket manically, like obsessively. He reads about cricket. He said, "I want Mike Brelly's autograph." So he said, "Okay." So Mike Brelly had come for some Bangalore League Fest. So that's what I'm telling you, India's love for cricket. Okay, so this child goes up to Mike Brelly, and Mike Brelly is like, "Do you know I'm so old? Do you even know what do you know why you asked me for my autograph? Do you know, like, basically, you know who I am?" He said, "Of course I know. You're the man who made Botham." In which country will an 11-year-old tell an English ex-captain, you are the man who made both of you. Please tell me. So there is also this, so when I and these two things happened within few days of each other, and I was like filled with this love and sentiment and everything and all. So I said there is definitely this mania for stars and stardom and whatever. There is also a love for cricket. There's also a love for sort of the individual madness that is there in cricket and the individual other countries, people and everything and all that. So this whole, and some people love the stars, some people love the cricket, and there should be place for everybody in the space. But the people who run cricket should love cricket, no, not the stars. They should not turn their attention on the stars.
What a shot.
We are there to worship the stars, not you. It's not your job to worship stars. We are here to write good things about them, not you.
Yeah, so Sharda, I think more than the article that you've written now, I think my mind went back to the 2015 open letter that you wrote to Virat Kohli, which is also...
Like him, he said the same thing. Yeah.
So my question is this. There are lots of sports folks, across different disciplines, etc., who have almost reached where they've reached by having that mindset of me versus the world. And, Kobe Bryant was one of them. And Bairstow is also one of them. Kohli is definitely one of them. So, if a player kind of responds to criticism in the way that Kohli did, which is to say that, what right do you have to talk about me because you've not played as much as me, etc. Isn't that almost on expected lines? I mean, the others are not perhaps coming out and saying it because they don't have the same kind of personality, but you don't get to that level by not being self-obsessed. And, everyone everywhere does that. So why does it become such a big thing? He's just responded like he knows how to with bat in the matches after that and with the mic in hand. So it's fine, right?
Correct. You're right. That of course he will respond and he'll take offense and he'll say these things. But the point is that we are also there, like reporters. I mean, I don't count the commentators as part of the media, given the Srikant's superb analysis and dissection of that fact. Because they are not, they don't. But your job is to do your job and say, okay, you tell me where my facts are wrong. You let me know what's. But as a superstar, you're not going to bother with that. Yeah. So there's a great line. Some American journalist wrote this about sports journalists. He said it's very simple. When you lose, we make fun of you. When you win, we make fun of the other guy. That's what it is. That's basically that's the game. So it's. And what you're saying is Kohli is Kohli. There's no denying that he's a different level of a batter and a cricketer and a superstar. But there is another level. So Saurav Ganguly, people think that only Kohli is getting attacked because he's on social media. The kind of rubbish that Saurav Ganguly has faced in his life, non-stop from us only, we only get. And Ravi Shastri had the crowd heckling him the whole time when he used to go and bat. Now, these are not Kohli level cricketers, but they are decent competitors and they're like, they played their hearts for India. They did very well. And whatever. So they just got it all the time. And they were just quite relaxed about it. They were like, it's okay. But I suppose now also because they are living in this hyper media attention sort of generating world that everything is responded to and you have to be out there and you have to be seen. And part of your persona is this tough guy and this tough competitor, and that's why you see them on the superstar cam. And superstar cam now. Please tell me, did fans ask them to put superstar cam up? No. The broadcasters put up this whatever was this called. What is the camera called?
Kohli cam.
Not Kohli. No. There's an actual cam.
Player cam or something it's called.
Yeah, it's called
Player
something.
Yeah.
And it's fixated. I think it's just fixed the whole time. So we didn't ask for it. Fans didn't ask for it. Journalists didn't ask. You only have done it. It's like, we are feeding the beast. Yeah, simply. You're throwing like stuff at us. So you're right. Why do we take offense? Because we want to tell you, why do, say, journalists get upset when this happens, or why do they respond? It's to say, boss, you are doing your job, no, I'm also doing my job.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And the other thing that happens, and no matter how much of a superstar are you, once you retire, you become someone else completely different. Your life will change. You have no idea how your life will change once you retire, because you are in this whole long chain of other people that are there. And in this cavalcade of generation of greats. And I remember so clearly, there was like Courtney Walsh was there. We used to be terrified of Courtney Walsh. He had come there and we'd gone to Calicut. There was a match in Calicut and there's this, and he was just looking at us with the Courtney Walsh. Anyway, had a disdainful expression on his face. You know, when he was, never mind that he's batting or bowling.
1994.
Possible, Calicut, where it rained and there was this thing. And you know who was the district commissioner at the time was Amitabh Kant, the guy who's in charge of this thing now.
Yeah.
Niti Ayog.
Niti Ayog.
Ah.
He was like this young IS guy who took over the situation and you were like so impressed and now you're looking at him.
Drive-by shooting at Amitabh Kant.
I remember so
Everyone
clearly.
else can, but Amitabh can't.
Amitabh.
Later.
So and I remember I met Courtney Walsh after many years and all that, and he was like all, and we went to ask him some questions about something on the ground, state of the ground, normal reporter work, and he was just like so like disdainful all the time. And then I met him, and he's a great bowler. And then we met him sometime later, and he was like one puppy. He was like super. He was just like fantastic. So you're seeing, you know, and even when players fight with each other and the fans are taking sides, and I said, but don't take sides. They're going to become friends after this. You would have had fought with your best friend over this issue. Relax. You know, be doing commentary together. Chill, it's okay. You know, it's like that. So that's why we.
Yeah, I remember when you wrote that Shastri 2.0 piece, one of the first people to share it on Twitter was Shastri himself, and he said, you know, you wait for Shastri 3.0 now.
Yeah. And Shastri called me. He called me and he said that I don't think any other player would have done this at all. He called and he started laughing on the phone and he said, my friends have been sending me that. He said, read this. This is about you and all that. Massive compliments. I was damn flattered. So he called and he said, yeah. No, we had a conversation like that because that's the kind of guy that he was. That's the kind of thing that he was. What would Shastri have done in the social media? You can see what he's doing in the social media. It's before us.
Early prototype of the social media citizen, right? So in that sense, even before.
Cred Shastri is 3.0. That's what you're stealing.
Cred Shastri.
3.0.
I think the point, Sharda, was just like I think Chops mentioned it up front. This social media era, the whole thing is about cricketers having their own, you know, megaphones to talk about their career, and obviously the state media, as you will, the board's commentators. There was a thread between Sidvi and Samant, I think, some time ago during an India-Australia series or India-England series where India won the first test. Everybody was praising, you know, the zeitgeist of our time, Ravi Ashwin's YouTube channel, about how amazing the storytelling is and everything. Second test, India lose, and there's nothing going up, right? There's zero, as if nothing happened. And the whole point was, that's your job. That's why you need the media.
Yeah, when you lose, we make fun of you. When you win, we make fun of the other. Bus. Simple.
That, by the way, that's a perfect description of our WhatsApp group, by the way.
Really. No, that's true.
We were talking specifically about India, but if you look around a little bit, right? So David Warner has now had one long-drawn farewell kind of year, right? He's been playing multiple formats.
Steve Waugh. Please don't forget
Steve Waugh, of course, yes. Steve Waugh, absolutely. Yeah, indeed. Entire series dedicated to his farewell.
Shane Bond finished him.
Shane Bond finished him. But yeah, so you've had Steve Waugh. You currently still have David Warner. Australia have decided not to take Jake Fraser-McGurk for the World Cup, right? And Dave Warner is actually playing in his space. Steve Smith has been let go of. I think everybody agrees.
Jimmy Anderson.
Jimmy Anderson is the other example, right?
Ali Martin reported, that he's also retiring this summer.
But
I know, but that
you could say
like a valedictory series the whole summer.
Yeah, but if you really look at the last two test series that Jimmy Anderson played in, he was not really pulling his weight. He was bowling like 10 overs a day, and he wasn't available with the old ball, right? So they have kind of carried him. I don't know if it is. I don't know if Australia are carrying or had to carry David Warner. I think there's more to it than that, right? To some extent, the personality cult seems to have seeped into other teams as well. Of course, across the border, Pakistan have their own problems too. But
No, this whole thing of having like a year-long like having this long protracted farewell and all, it used to be done in what they used to call that in the professionals in English cricket used to have that
benefit
match.
Yeah, benefit year. So the benefit year now they don't need because the money is bigger in that sense and all that. But now it's basically their benefit last few series or whatever. They'll enjoy it as they go along, and the family will come out for photographs, and it becomes a whole event. It's just not a sporting event. It's just another kind of a thing that's there. It's again, it's the social media sort of space to fill in all those things and all that. It's very much a part of, particularly in the countries where cricket is seen as a viable sort of a profitable, even slightly glamorous, and it may not be the number one sport in England, but it's like at least number two kind of a thing, and in Australia as well. So it'll always be there, and they're seeing examples that's happening everywhere. And I feel in Asian countries just slightly brutal about these things much more than cricket. They tend to keep them more like dignified, farewells, and classy, as it just becomes some bloodletting right at the end. The other thing that you think about the social media channels that are there for players to tell their stories and all that. It's a great thing that they're there. Like Ravi Ashwin's this thing. My camera is doing things. Because
it is a zooming in the Zoom call.
Ravi Ashwin's, his YouTube channel where we won and then we didn't win and then it fell silent, which is great. But the thing is, what's also happened is that you have taken away, it's almost fans don't get to learn about the players. This is again pet rant that's coming up, the invisible, undistinguishable, whatever I call us. That you're not hearing their stories in a way that they need to be told to fans. Like the story of Bhuvi. We don't know anything about Bhuvi and his life and his career other than what he tells us on Instagram. That's not good. That's not good. You want to appreciate and celebrate the player as he was and what he contributed and what his role was. But that's not happening anymore. It's just this other. It's literally packaged neatly, and then all we have to do is look at the package and say, "Oh, fantastic, lovely," and it's done well. I'm not saying it's not done well. It's great music and slow motion and everything.
What is it about cricket though that, like you mentioned, even football is existing in the social media age, where I'm guessing your big stars are bigger than they ever were, right? I get one difference in cricket is I think age doesn't stop players as easily in cricket as it does in other sports, and we all know it. But other than that, why is this star culture unique to cricket? Is it again got to do with the fact that cricket is a individual game that is cloaked as a team sport? What is it about cricket?
I will tell you one thing about this is a story from our colleague Joy, about star culture. When the Brazilian football team practices, they have live cameras reporting it back live to Brazil. So let us not say that it's only us. It is the Brazilian football team has this other mania that is there on them because they are seen as a symbol of success and whatever. Cricket also has a mythology. Cricket's mythology and English language mythology. Like football is spoken in many, many, many languages: French, Spanish, whatever, German, many English. So English and England is English is the main language of cricket's mythology. And we will mythologize. We just make stars into and it's a very bad sports journalistic habit. We all do it. When we're growing up, hero we use easily, courage we use easily. We use language so casually when it comes to
Mahayuddha.
Mahayuddha is, of course, now that's another level of mythology. That is literally, that is mythology. That is like who's the fellow who used to make those big mythological series? Ramanand Sagar.
Ramanand Sagar,
Ramanand Sagar mythologizing of cricket is happening now. We are English is all faltu. They're not doing anything. They are doing the other level. So I think that's what the thing is. Cricket's mythology. But the thing about 2020 is, how do you mythologize 2020? How do you mythologize franchise cricket? You can't. So then you just mythologize the people in it. And their part. And okay, their team is doing very badly, but it's okay. Fans are coming to watch them.
So you're actually saying it's something to do with the way English describes action, which is different from the way other languages tend to.
I don't know about other languages, but mythologizing of cricket is a very, very big English language thing, right? I am sure because I don't speak any other languages to have the confidence to read it. Apparently, there were some cricket writers who write in Hindi or in Hindi I can read, but not that much Bengali. So they are able to write as beautifully as you would see it written in any other language. But because English is such a prominent language in the cricket world, that's created the myths and everything. And it started with all the English cricketers and English cricket being the best, and then Australian cricket doing the preaching, and then we were seen as like this thing, and then we have now stood up and said, we have money, boss. Now you talk. Now let's see. Never mind all your great WG Grace and all. We have cash. So, and also the sport gave itself to a whole the time that it took for a match to play itself out in the old days, like a test match, 5 days. You know, so Shehan Karunatilaka, the writer, the Sri Lankan writer who wrote that incredible Chinaman, he said in one of these lit festivals, he said, I'll be watching a match, I go to sleep in the afternoon, we test match cricket, and I'll get up. And then I look at the next day's paper, and I was like, what? What is this? What is this thing, that fantastic thing that happened that I paid no attention to? So that is what he's talking about mythology. So we watched a long day, then nothing has happened. And then you will focus on that one fellow who has batted for, 6 hours and made 72, and then you say, what a great innings, and he's come from there.
It's true.
So and so. Yeah.
The only way to deal with the boredom of cricket is to build up heroes in your mind. So interesting.
We're still writing about Chris Tavare in England, right? That's what it is.
Oh my God, really.
Yeah. There have been personality clashes in Indian cricket in the past too. And this is perhaps, again, Kohli versus Gavaskar and whatever else. But you've had multiple such incidents. So perhaps a little bit of a cynical question, but which one do you think would have, played out in the most filmy way in today's era? Had those guys got YouTube channels and social media handles, etc.
Chapel Ganguly, 100%. The only thing that
what about Gavaskar versus Kapil?
Possibly Gavaskar versus Kapil also. Chapel versus Ganguly easier because it's Indian versus non-Indian, that way. But Gavaskar, Kapil, North in Bombay versus Delhi, 100%. You can hear the music in the background. Or as a Bombay wala, I'll say all non-Bombay people versus Bombay people. That is our biggest problem. They're so jealous of us.
That happened now, after the Ranji Trophy thing, where Sulakshan Kulkarni, who's the coach of Tamil Nadu, came and said, you guys are useless, you don't know how to play. You're the coach. Useless bolne ke liye to media hai, your job is to coach us.
That was so funny. And Sulakshan Kulkarni played for Railways also for some time, but he came from Bombay, so the Bombay's arrogance is on other level. But we are like that.
What about Wadekar versus Patodi, the 1971 series?
Jobs going to take this all the way back, no?
All
the Jobs is there showing us.
If you're going to go all the way back, then Lala Manna. Lala Manna was always a great subject of gussa, panga, fighting, whatever. Vizzy, that wretched team that in 1932, that Vizzy was the captain. But Lala is the original fighter. Yeah.
And the other question related.
Other Lala also. Lala versus Gambhir. Afridi versus Gambhir.
The other question is, now you're saying things have changed and cricket has become shorter and attention spans have become smaller.
Yeah.
So is this the peak of whatever we are observing? And everyone else now is obviously going to be a big star in social media, etc. But they're never going to reach that level of Kohli or Warner or whoever else to,
Don't happen. In India, no chance. There will always be somebody. Somebody will always come and become like the greatest thing since Papad or whatever. So it's just, there will always be something. Because you keep thinking, Tendulkar ke baad kaun hoga?
Exactly.
When I was growing up, Gavaskar was a hero.
Yeah.
Hero means hero, like absolute hero. We thought, after this, and we'll never find an opener like Gavaskar, we'll never find a batsman like Gavaskar and Tendulkar. And not even like within few years he was there. And Kohli is the next. So it's not possible. It's not possible that they'll not create some. If say for example, if Hardik Pandya had played like he might still in the next few months, I don't know. But if he had played at that like godly level of that talent that he has and all, he can just smash everybody out of the park and go away and say, you're taking panga with me. Like, this is who I am. So it's not possible that stardom will not be there for someone. So like everyone will say, okay, after Ronaldo and Messi, who? After Tiger Woods, who? But someone will come. It's just Kudrat ka nizam.
Or it can go in the other direction, right? You'll have new P-Dogs and Rajamani's daughter.
Correct.
That is the other direction of travel.
I think Sharda doesn't know who these people are.
I know, explain. Please explain. Yeah.
You've not been
These
watching
are,
all the content in Ashwin's YouTube and Instagram feeds.
No.
So P-Dog and Rajamani are his co-collaborators with whom he creates content. P-Dog is Prasanna Lara, who is this analyst. Analyst with multiple teams. Yeah. And Rajamani is the physio of the Rajasthan Royals, with whom he creates reels and all. Yeah.
Okay. I thought some movie director. I just
Rajamouli.
Sorry. So I was like, some other level. This is.
Fully endorse the other point Sharda mentioned, that one day these players will retire and very quickly they move down the pecking order, which I was reminded of when you spoke about Tendulkar and Kohli. Right now, Tendulkar, we all know what Tendulkar was in his playing years, right? And now the camera doesn't even go towards him really. While he's there for all the Mumbai Indians games, it's more of a passing fantasy. Ek tha tiger, once upon a time.
Some old guy. Like Gavaskar, like Gavaskar. You should, the social media comments about Gavaskar were like, and you want to just, Wikipedia to pad lo before making comments.
Yeah, people don't even know, people don't remember, people don't know. Yeah. They moved on.
Yeah.
Because your profession is so closely linked to the cricketer, what we are seeing is essentially the big dog, the big cricketer flexing, right? When Kohli says, you can't talk about me, he's basically flexing, right?
Yes.
But what happens is that when the cricketer is done playing cricket, he goes to the comm box and you find a lot of flexing there also.
Yeah.
And you have, so for example, somebody telling Harsha Bhogle that, you can't see the ball because you are not played cricket, or, even Vikram Sathe coming out recently and talking about his uncomfortable experiences being bullied by, former cricketers who are in the comm box. Now, my question to you is that when a cricketer becomes, say, a journalist or becomes a part of the media, who has the flexing rights? I mean, is it the best writer, the most experienced writer, or is it the former cricketer?
No, so the flexing right, the cricketer always feels he has. Yeah, that's why they do this. That's why they throw their weight around in commentary boxes. I don't think Harsha has spoken about this as openly as he should, because his experiences in his early years, I would try and use a correct word, must have been, it can be imagined, it can be understood as cricket for editor, people don't know what that means. Must have been traumatic, in that sense. The cricketer will always flex. But the response in a situation when something happens, as a reporter, as a journalist, we basically, journalists are basically inconsequential now. People really don't care beyond a point what you're writing. You just write because you're writing, because it's fun or whatever. You're not that much part of the cricketer's central, sort of like it used to be, that you're not part of the central story. They don't even call you to have fights, in that sense, that they don't even care. It's not even the person who writes the best report or has the best language or whatever it is. It's just the reporter should tell the cricketer, this is the line I feel, if I have this, I'll say it. I'm saying it now, is that I will never tell you how to be a good cricketer. It's not my place to tell you how to play cricket or how cricket should be played. But it's not in your place to tell me how to be a journalist, because I know more than you about this. Just as you know more than me about cricket, I grant you that. I know more about this. This is my job. I know how it's done. So that's that thing that a cricketer should have a journalist should have the confidence to be able to say. And a lot of, then you're stuck with guys like Atherton who write so well, you're thinking, oh God, like, we might as well stop. What is the point? Going to get like this, and he does like proper work and whatever. He's not just writing some column off the top of his head.
Atherton, it's fair to say he was a journalist stuck in a cricketer's body. I mean, his international record is nothing to write off about. Like, you're talking about holy cows. How did he have such a long career with that average? Please. Should have been writing all the time.
English cricket is very careful with who it chucks out and who it includes. No, English cricket has another social hierarchy, which is another podcast by itself. You should get an English journalist to talk about it. Flexing part, like Ian Chappell, for example, is a top quality commentator, and he's a top quality, and he respects the fact that he is amongst journalists, and he'll sit and come and work with you in the press box. That's why he's respected for that. And as a commentator, he takes the part on of this neutral person, and I don't have to be popular with X, Y, and Z. I will say what I want. Whereas all your commentators have lost that this thing to say, I'll say what I want. I don't think a lot of the times a lot of them say what they want. I feel languages guys are better, but yeah. So your English language commentators particularly, they can't talk as openly in Indian commentary boxes. They can go and do it elsewhere and they'll never get a job in Indian commentary boxes if they're worried about that.
Or don't turn up like Michael Holding. That's the other way to live, right?
Correct. Yeah. I'm not interested. Yeah. I'm not interested. Yeah. We like
there's
that.
only two. Yeah.
So that whenever you say anything, people will know that you mean it and you'll stand by it and you won't become a shifting goalpost. Some of the commentators are shifting goalposts. So, yeah.
Did you guys have anything else? Because I feel like we covered a lot and on one topic today, went in depth with Sharda. Choppy? PDP? You guys good? Awesome.
He's gone all the way back to Pataudi and all that.
Pataudi, yeah. You can go to Ranji and Duleep Singh ji.
नहीं वो लगान में वो that fellow.
Oh, great. I feel like we can continue going down these rabbit holes with Sharda and have like a 7-hour episode. But we have to finish at this point on episode 123. So thank you, Sharda, for the time, as always.
Thanks so much. Such fun being on this podcast. I love it. Yeah.
There you go. That's your endorsement to leave us a 5-star rating on Spotify or wherever else you listen to our podcast from. Even if you don't like it, Sharda Ugra does, and you go give us a rating. That's what it is. And thank you guys, as always. Great fun.
Thank you
Thanks
so
a lot,
much.
guys. Bye.
Sharda.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Bye.